Welcome to The Soul's Journey with your host, Tracey Escobar. The Soul's Journey tells the story of everyday people who overcome life's toughest lessons and want to use their voice to share and give hope to others walking a similar path. These are stories of hope, stories of healing, stories of empowerment. So now, please welcome the host of The Soul's Journey, Tracey Escobar.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Soul's Journey on Bold Brave TV Network. I am your host, psychic medium Tracey Escobar, also known as the Red Couch Medium. And today it's all about spilling the tea with Tracey. So that's kind of the title of the show today. And what does it really mean? So we are on, I think this is episode 6. So the past 5 episodes, we've been interviewing people who've had some really tough life lessons and choices that they've had to make and things that they've had to overcome to kind of get where they are now. But the piece that's been missing is the how, right? How did they get out of the quicksand? How did they get to a point where they were able to move forward? And I think that's what I want to talk about today. And in the next couple of episodes, actually, we're going to talk about what you can do to get out of the quicksand and what you can do to kind of push forward in life. And so please, any comments, questions, I want you to leave them for us and we will answer them in the next segment. So please let us in and let us know what kind of questions you might have as we kind of go through this. But I wanted to spend an hour with you and let's talk about how do we heal? How do we cope when we've been through some really tough things in our life? And I can tell you, if you do these steps and if you do the things that I'm trying to promote, you can have a totally different life pretty quickly. So I get really excited to talk about this stuff because I can take a look back at my life and see, man, the day that I decided to change or the day that I decided I have an awareness that I needed to do something around my mental health, my depression, some of the patterns I was seeing in my life. So the day that I decided to take control of all that and do some self-development changed everything for me. And so that's what I want to talk about, self-development and how important it is for you to be able to move on, because there's some things, right? We can't change other people. We just can't. So if you're dealing with someone who has addiction or things like that, there is really nothing that you can do to force somebody else to change. That really has to come from within themselves. They have to want it. Remember, we are all souls having a journey, and what works for one may not work for somebody else because maybe their journey is meant to be different. And so you always have to remember that we can beat ourselves up until we're blue in the face, but if they don't want to change, then they're not going to change. And so that's always something that we have to look at. And so I tell people all the time, most of my clients, you got to start with yourself and you got to go within and you have to look at yourself because really you're the only person that you can change. You can change your actions, you can change your reactions, your behaviors, your patterns, but you're the only one that can do that. And so really going on a self-development journey will help you. I know a lot of people who start and they will start a meditation practice. They will start journaling. So buying a journal and just getting your feelings out. They will also start by doing like affirmations every day. So I know I tell my clients when you wake up every morning, I want you to write down 5 things that you love about yourself and 5 things that you're grateful for, and just start every morning that way. That way it starts to fix the mindset. Mindset's going to be very important in your journey because your brain will tell you stories. And it's so true, right? You can be in a situation and your brain will think up the whole story, whether it's based on fact or not, and whether it's based on truth or not. And then that becomes our reality. And so that's why self-development is super important, because you create this reality that goes along with the stories you tell in your head. And so it just becomes really important to start looking at yourself, okay? I've been watching a lot of Cy Wakeman. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but you can Google her or go on YouTube. But she's a leader and she's a speaker in the leadership realm. And I listen to her for my professional career because I have another career that I do as well. And it's so neat because she pulls in some of the stuff that we talk about the consciousness and being aware. And she leads based on that. And so it's very enlightening. So if you are in a leadership position or you're a boss of somebody, I would encourage you to go watch her videos as well. Because she tries to pull in consciousness, and she tries to pull in, don't tell the story in your head, get to the facts, right? Because we always will tell the bad story. We'll tell the story of someone doesn't like us, or someone is talking about us, or we'll tell the story of, oh, they really meant to do that on purpose to me, not that it was unintentional. So I think she's a really good person to listen to in the leadership community. I've decided to help you all by going on this little journey with you. And I've done a lot of work on myself, but I just want to help you all do it too. So I hated to read, and I think reading is probably one of the most important things that you can do to fill your mind with good stuff and to learn. You can't just learn from not reading. You have to read. And so I'm going to start reading books for you, and then we're going to start talking about them on the podcast on the Soul's Journey. And the first book I'm tackling is called The Tools. And let me read to you what it is. So The Tools is 5 tools to help you find courage, creativity, and willpower, and inspire you to live life in forward motion. So just like I was saying, a lot of you out there are stuck in the trauma and you can't move forward. And it's like you're in quicksand. You so bad want to move forward, and you can so bad create a story of what you want your life to look like, but you just can't get there because the mental blocks that you have in place and how the trauma has affected your nervous system, frankly, right? And it was really interesting. I don't know if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we had Lulu on, and then Danielle last week. And I'm just learning so much having this therapist on. And Lulu made such a good statement on the show that I'm starting to live by it. And I'm going to share it again with you because it was really a great aha moment for me. I'm a psychic medium, and I counsel people all the time. And I counsel people living in their trauma state, and living pattern to pattern and belief system, and being stuck, right? And living in their trauma. And look what they did to me. Look what they did to me. How about me? What they did to me? And she made such a good point, and it just kind of blew my mind. She said, too many of us keep wanting to revisit the trauma and relive the trauma. And the trauma's done, right? It's over. We can't change the trauma. We can't change the past. We can find forgiveness in our heart for the people who may have hurt us, whether intentional or not intentional, but there's nothing else we can do to change it. So why are we focusing so much on the trauma? We need to start focusing on what the trauma did to our bodies and our nervous system, regulatory system. That's where we need to start focusing. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right, because that's where the issues are. Those are the feelings that come up when we're being triggered. It's not, yes, it came from the trauma, but revisiting the trauma and telling the story over and over is not going to fix your nervous system. So finding coping skills to help you get through some things when you're facing trauma will help push you forward and get you out of that quicksand and put you in that forward motion. So we're next 3 to 5 episodes, we're really going to dive in, and we're going to talk about the tools. And in each episode, I'm going to dive into one tool at a time and really get in and see what we can do to change some of our perspectives and eventually change our life. So I can't wait to let's dig in and let's get started and let's talk about it. I did want to say too, like Danielle was on the show as well last Friday, and she's an amazing person to go and listen to too. And she said the same thing Lulu said. It's not in the trauma anymore. So the issues are now in our tissues, right? So the trauma now lives within our body. The trauma is now energy within our cells, within our fatty tissue, and it's just kind of stuck there. So when we don't deal with them, that's what happens. So it's still important to kind of get some therapy around your trauma just to get those emotions out. And you can do that through, even if you don't go to therapy, right now there's a big movement on self-healers, and you can Google that, self-healing, and there's a lot of people you can follow, and they have books written on what you can do to be a self-healer and kind of heal yourself. You do have to go revisit the trauma, and you have to get to the place of forgiveness. But then after that, it's time to move forward, right? And so if you're getting triggered all the time, that's what I'm hoping this will do. We will give you some tools that are going to be set in place. So again, the book is called The Tools. If you want to get it, you can get it on Amazon. That's where I got it. It is by Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels. And I can't remember the name of it, but Netflix also has a show with the author on it. And it's a really cool documentary. It's really cool. So I would go and search for that on Netflix too, and you can kind of go along right with me as we start diving into this book. All right, so I want to read you a quote that starts the book off, right? And it says, "The things that hurt instruct," and that was by Ben Franklin. And there's always a reason for our pain. I'm going to tell you that. And the author goes into it more into the book. And we have to know pain in order to move forward in life. We have to. It's kind of like the yin and the yang. We have to have duality. So where there's happy, there's going to be sad, right? Where there's good, there's going to be bad. It's kind of it comes in at the same time. And so I thought that was a really great quote, because a lot of us will blame God or will blame the universe. Why are they putting me through this? And there are people out there who are going to tell you, you signed up for this before you came here, right? You signed up for your soul to grow. And a lot of times we cannot grow without adversity. And so the universe is going to put adversity into your life so that you can grow. And I can tell you, after the healing processes happen, and after you've gained some really good coping skills and you've done your mindset work and you've changed some of the ways you react to things, those things in life that hit you aren't as bad anymore. They don't deter me. Like, I can tell you now, back in the day, if I would have had a flat tire with all the stress I had in my life, it probably would have thrown me for the day, right? Because so much is going on. I didn't have the money in my account. How am I going to be able to fix this life? Why is this happening to me? I can never get ahead. Now that I'm on the other side of my healing, it's a flat tire. But I have a home, I have a car, I have a job. Life is really, really good. This is just kind of a little bump in the road. And that goes along with my flow. I love to flow through life. And I tell my clients, you've got to learn to flow. And so even when you're flowing in a river, if you think of a river, you're going to come across rocks. But do you see what the water does? The water doesn't just stop, back up, right? The water flows over. And that's kind of what we should be doing in life when we have objections being raised in our life, or in inconveniences that come into our life. And I'm going to start calling them inconvenience, because just this inconvenience, it's not, oh my gosh, life's over, right? They're inconveniences. And those we should just be flowing over and not trying to resist them so much. So we're going to start the book until our first segment comes to an end. And so I'm going to start with what the first tool in the book is, and it's called the reversal of desire. Okay, so that's the very first tool that the author gives us. It's called reversal of desire. And this book gives you 5 tools, and then also gives you 5 master forces that are in play, higher forces that are in play. So you have 5 tools, and every tool comes with a master force, or your higher self's force. Okay. So for each chapter, we'll talk about a tool and a force and why they go kind of hand in hand. So very first chapter, the reversal of desire. And the force is called the force of forward motion. So those are the things we're going to get onto today. And I know, what's the tool? Reversal of desire. That sounds kind of funny, right? But the author goes into, why do we stay stuck? Why don't we move forward in life? And the number one thing, and it has to do with our brain and a natural human desire to avoid pain, right? So how many of us have been hurt in relationships, right? So what happens is, the next time you almost get into a relationship, you back away and you say, because I don't want to be hurt anymore. So you come with a guarded heart, right? Because we've been hurt over and over and over. So our brain wants to protect us. So it's going to say, and we're going to put up walls. No, I don't want to get hurt again, right? Or if we are in a job and we speak up about something, and then we get attacked a little bit, then we start, I can't do that again because I'm afraid that someone's going to attack me again. Again, walls go up. So think about your life. All the things that go on day to day where you don't push forward because of pain. You're avoiding pain. Think about that for just 1 second, okay? I'm trying to think of other things I don't like to go to the grocery store anymore because of the people. So I play an avoidance role within myself because I don't want the pain of having to deal with the large amount of energy that's out there. So that's kind of one thing I do as pain avoidance. Pain avoidance too, when you have conflict with family and friends, I don't want that pain. So I'm just going to be like, I'm going to back off. I'm going to let them do what they need to do. And if they want to be my friend and they want to be family with me still, then they can come. So that's another thing that I do that I'm trying to work on, because you want to avoid the pain. It's human nature, and it's in our brain to just want to avoid it. And so that's probably one of the biggest challenges I'm starting to work on at the moment through my self-development journey and self-reflection journey, because that's what it's about. We got to go within, you got to look inside, and we got to figure out what's wrong with us and what we can do to have the life we desire and the life we deserve. It's basically that simple. And we're going to go back into so much more on chapter 1, the reversal of desire, when we get back. So this is The Soul's Journey, and you're watching right here on Bold Brave TV, and we'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hi, and welcome back to The Soul's Journey on Bold Brave TV Network. I am your host, Tracey Escobar, Psychic Medium, and we are talking today about the book, The Tools. I am going to start talking about self-development. We've had a lot of guests on our show who have told us about their life journeys and the hardships in their life and how they've overcome them, and we're going to dive deep into what that means for them. It was all about self-development. It starts with you, and you're the only one that can change you, and you're the only one that can heal you. So I'm reading the book so that you don't have to, and we're going to go over it. So right now we are on chapter 1, and it's the very first tool. It's called the reversal of desire. And we're talking about what that even means. And the brain automatically wants to protect us and keep us safe. So we will avoid pain. Another crazy thing that the brain does, it doesn't just want to avoid pain. It wants to replace the pain you have with pleasure. And that's where we get into issues of gambling, drug addiction, shopping addiction, alcohol abuse, anything, sexual promiscuity, anything that we can do to find pleasure so we don't have to feel the pain. And that's just another thing that the brain does. And the more that you know, the more that you become aware. It's a little trick that I do every night, because I am aware of so much things and I am aware of the brain a lot. At night, I will do a check on myself. And I will go throughout the day and I will think about all the things maybe I could handle better, maybe I could have done better, maybe I could have pushed through and not have been afraid. So, excuse me, I do a lot of self-reflection every single night. And so I encourage you to do the same, because you can't fix what you're not admitting is broke, right? Or you're not admitting is wrong with you. And so you have to get really real about yourself. Get a journal that only you can read, and just get real and get raw. That's the only way you can fix yourself. So back to the tools of reversal of desire, the number 1 tool. And the force behind it, the higher force, is the force of forward motion. Okay, so those two kind of go hand in hand. And we're talking about the brain just kind of wanting to protect. and wanting to replace with pleasure. So I know a lot of us have struggled with that. That's why trauma victims are addicts. That's why trauma victims will seek out sexual pleasures or have multiple partners because they're just looking for that pleasure. Alcoholics, there's a shopping addiction. Hoarding, that's another thing that people will do in order to mask their pain and create a numbness so that they don't have to feel. Another thing that most people do is stay in a comfort zone, right? And what they've done is really kind of shrunk their life into this little circle, and they won't get out of the circle. They want to stay right within that little tiny comfort zone. And sorry, I have like allergies. Texas is like, we have all the trees blooming and blowing, and I'm suffering a little bit today with my allergies. Okay, back to comfort zone. So that's what happens. A lot of us want to just stay stuck in that comfort zone. And there's this really cool illustration that I'm going to show you. So I hope that you guys can see it. So if this, let me see over here. If this over here is you, right? And the circle is your comfort zone, right? That's where you want to stay. Right in here is our pain. So it's kind of right outside of us, right? Here's the pain. And then right over here is endless possibilities. And so what happens is when we start going towards the pain, we're like, no, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel. And we come back and we just stay right here in this little comfort zone area. And that's kind of where we live. We live here. We don't go anywhere else, right? We don't do anything else that's going to cause us to go closer to our pain. And this is the life we live. And so can you see where we can get stuck, where we can't have forward motion, where we can't move forward? We are in the same place all the time, right? And over here is all these endless possibilities of what life could be like, what life could look like. Yet, we're choosing to stay here. And so that's what this chapter talks about. How do we get out of that? How can we move forward, right? And why do we stay stuck? That's another question that you want to ask yourself. So if you've got a journal, I want you to write that down. Why am I stuck? Or why do I stay stuck? And the number one answer is going to be instant gratification. We don't want to do the work because we want to feel good, right? And instant gratification feels good, right? When you're hungry and there is a cinnamon roll right there on the table, or you have to go and make you something healthy. What are you going to choose to do? 9 times out of 10, you're going to choose the cinnamon roll because it's instant gratification and it feels really good when you're really, really hungry, right? But what's healthier? Healthier is going to the refrigerator, pulling out all the ingredients to make you something healthy. Does it take time? Yes. Is it painful sometimes? Yes, because there's work involved. But is it healthier for your body? Yes, again. So that's just kind of one analogy you can do as you start going through this whole process. The comfort zone feels good. We are not going to lie. I remember just kind of going through this too in my journey, even just becoming a medium. So not even with real life stuff. When I was becoming a medium, one part of mediumship is doing demonstrations for the public. And it is scary. I'm not even going to lie. When you do your first couple, you're up there in front of people praying to God that spirit will talk to you, praying to God that this is going to work while hearing your knees knocking in your head, right? And your heart pounding. It's the scariest thing. And I can tell you, I wanted to run several times. It would have been easier just to quit, get in my car, go home, put on some Netflix and just be, right? There would be my comfort zone in my home, watching TV with my popcorn and my soda. And yes, no one can hurt me. No one can touch me. I'm not going to humiliate myself. That would have been the comfort, right? Luckily, I had a mentor at that time who pushed me and kind of like pushed me out of the nest, so to speak. And I had to push through that pain. And I had to push through that comfort zone and that avoidance. And I had to get up there and I had to push through the nervousness, the sweating, the knocking of my knees, the stumbling over my words because I had no confidence then. And it was terrifying and it was horrible. But once you push past it, wow, the possibilities, the amount of pride you can feel inside of yourself, the amount of confidence that it gives you. So the benefits of pushing forward far outweighed the comfort of staying in the comfort zone. Okay, so we're going to do a little exercise that I think may help most of you to kind of figure out, well, how do I avoid the pain? How do I meet the pain where it's at, right? How can I keep from avoiding it? How can I get myself unstuck? And that's going to be what we're going to talk about in this next segment, is about how do we get unstuck? Now that I know I'm stuck, I know why I'm stuck. Okay, that's all good, Tracey, but how do I get out of being stuck? And so I think that's the section that we're going to talk about next. First, you got to find a reason to move forward. Find your purpose. Most of the time, we won't move forward unless we find our purpose in moving forward, right? For some reason, we want a reward system, right? We don't do things unless we're getting something in return. That's normal human behavior. And so, if you're trying to move forward, but there's really no reason to move forward for in your mind because you're stuck in that loop, then you're not going to move forward. But if you find a purpose, and I can tell you with me, it was mediumship and it was helping others heal. That became my purpose. So it didn't matter anymore how much I cried in a class and ran out because I got something wrong, or how much I beat myself up, or how much easier it would have been just to quit and go back to my Netflix and chill. I didn't. And I kept pursuing. It was probably the very first time in life that I pursued something like that. So how many of you have started something and stopped something over and over and over and over and over, right? And that was me, like multi-level marketing. I would start it, stop it. I did Mary Kay, I did Avon, I did Herbalife. I've done Thrive, I've done, you name it, I've done them, a lot of them. But it was never something that stuck. And I would always ask myself, I'm a smart person, I'm a great business person, I'm a leader in my business, in my company. Why is it I can't do this for myself? And do you know what it was? Because I had no passion behind it. I didn't have a purpose or desire behind it. So it wasn't sticking. But the minute I found mediumship, and the minute I found this desire within me to become a medium and to help others, and found the purpose within me, because no one can tell you what your purpose is. You 100% have got to find your purpose within you. And so no one else can do that. So don't go book a reading with a psychic and spend your money trying to find out your purpose, because they're going to tell you. They may make it up, but a real ethical medium or psychic will tell you the purpose is with you. You have to find that purpose. The purpose is what's going to make you happy, what's going to drive you, what's going to push you in that forward motion, right? What's going to push you forward, that purpose. So I think that's one of the biggest things, because if you have a purpose, sometimes moving past your pain feels worth it to get to the end line. Okay. So really doing some soul searching, find out what you love, find out what your purpose is, and then activate that powerful force of moving forward, one step at a time, right? Envision yourself at the end of the line where you want to see yourself. And then every day you take one step forward, and one step forward until we get there, right? That's what we call forward motion. Let's see. Go back to my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, it does. And in the book, he does say purpose is more powerful than the desire to avoid pain. So let that sink in. Your purpose is more powerful than the desire to avoid pain. So that's why it's super important to find that thing. Do you love children? Do you love to cook? What do you love? What does your soul love? And how can you make a living at it, or at least do it, volunteer? Find that thing that enlightens your soul. That's the purpose, right? And find happiness through that. All right. Then he goes on to say, most of us choose to avoid. Instead, as a result, we don't live up to our potential, never becoming fully ourselves. So you're robbing yourselves of having endless possibilities. So you're cutting yourself short by doing some of these things that you're doing, by avoiding and staying in your comfort zone, right? You're not living to your potential. And you can take me 7 years ago. I wasn't doing this work. I was in a job. I was going to work, coming home, being a mom, laundry, cooking, cleaning, all of the above, right? Just existing and not living, if that makes any sense. That's at least how I felt. I was just existing. And when my big awakening came, like in 2016, I was like, I can't do this anymore. There has to be more to life. And then that's when I started my healing journey, my self-development journey, and started trying to figure out, what is it that's going to make me happy? What is it that's going to drive me forward? And that's when I found mediumship. And then here I am 7 years later. I've written my book. I have 2 decks of cards. So it's literally pushed me into forward motion, right? And I can't stop because I'm living my purpose. And because the purpose outweighs the pain, right? It makes you go into this forward motion, and you just want to keep growing and keep growing. And I do. And every day I want to grow, and I want to help my soul grow, and I want to learn more, and I want to add more to my toolbox, and I just want to keep going, right? I'm really inspired to do healing now. And so that's another thing I'm going to add to my toolbox pretty soon. And I can't wait to announce that. But just getting inspired every single day. That's what living your purpose feels like. Okay. So I can't wait for you all to do it. All right. So the reversal of desire is tapping into that forward motion you need to move relentlessly forward in your own life. And we are going to do a quick little exercise. So you can write this down or you can participate, but I'm going to go into some of the steps that we're going to take first. I want you to find you a space tonight, and I want you to close your eyes, okay? And I want you to take one thing that you've either been through or you're going through that is very, very painful for you, okay? And when you close your eyes, I want you to picture this emotion of pain of what you're going through as a cloud in front of you, okay? So you're going to sit this cloud right in front of you, and we're going to label it with whatever pain that you're currently in at the moment, okay? And really, I want you to label it. Have you lost a child? Have you lost a job? Are you going through a divorce? Does someone have cheating in the relationship? Whatever it is, whatever your pain is, I just want you to put it. Are you grieving? Is there a death involved, right? And so sit with that for 1 second. Think about it. And then visualize that you have this pain living in this cloud that's sitting in front of you. All right. I'm going to stop right here because we're going to go to a break in a second. And I want us to do this piece together. So do me a favor, write it down. What is it that you're going to do tonight, right? Write down what the pain is that you're going to go into tonight. And when we come back from our break, I'm going to tell you what to do with that and how we can move forward. Okay. So we will be right back. This is Tracey with Bull Brave TV.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hi, and welcome back to The Soul's Journey on Bull Brave TV Network. I am your host, Tracey Escobar, and today we're talking about the tools, the book, by Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels, and we are on the first tool called the reversal of desire and the force of forward motion. So when we left off at the last segment, we are going to do a little exercise on it's a little technique that you can use to help cope with pain. So again, you're going to find your biggest pain. You're going to put it in this cloud in front of you. Again, this is all visual. You're going to close your eyes. Okay. And then tonight, when you're doing this, I just want you to sit in a place of safety where you're safe, completely safe. And then I want you to visualize this cloud in front of you. Okay. And then I want you to slowly move closer to this cloud. And I want you to yell out quietly, in a whisper maybe, but in a firm whisper, bring it on, right? So let's say this is a cloud, it's in your mind's eye, and you're bringing it closer and you're saying, bring it on, bring it on. And in this cloud sits your pain, right? But you're ready to face it in this little meditation, and you're going to tell it to bring it on. And in your mind, you're going to keep saying, I love pain. I love pain. Now, remember, we're not calling in anything bad, and we don't want pain in our life, but we want to change our mindset. And I think that's what's most important. So you are in a safe spot, and really we are just trying to change the pathways in our brain. So as you bring this cloud closer, you're telling it, bring it on. I love pain. I love pain. I love pain. And when you get really close, where you're almost into it, I want you to yell out, pain sets me free. Okay? Pain sets me free. And I want you to walk right through that cloud. And I want you to let it touch you, let it feel you, right? Remember, you're in a safe spot in your home. So it's going to be okay. Bring it on. I love pain, and pain sets me free. And that's just a little technique that you can do, okay? So how and why does this little technique work, right? And I'm going to tell you, your experience of pain changes relative to how you react to it. Think about that little statement for a second, right? You know, when you're a little kid, and like, I'll talk about my little granddaughter. I have a little granddaughter. She is definitely afraid of a fly. I mean, fearful of a fly. And when a fly comes into the room or lands, she literally will get up screaming and running, okay? And we are really trying to work with her to face that fear. It's a fly. It's not going to hurt you. But in her mind, this is a huge fly, and this huge fly I am deathly afraid of. And there's this fear. So she will not leave a room. She won't go into a room where there's a fly. She is really paralyzed by the fly. So if you think about that, that's how fear is, right? When we avoid something that we're afraid of, we think of it as this gigantic thing to overcome. But if we slowly take on the pain, right, or we slowly move forward to those things that we're afraid of, it becomes less scary. And the same thing happens in our brain when regards to avoiding pain. Or the more we do it, the more we face it, and the more we challenge it, the easier it gets. He wrote in that chapter, and I thought, okay, that makes so much sense. You move towards pain and it will shrink. You move away from it and your pain will continue to grow, okay? But if you flee from it, pain pursues you like a monster. And if you confront the monster, it will go away. All right, let me repeat that. Okay, avoid pain, move away from pain. The pain just feels like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? Get closer to the pain, and the pain starts to shrink and it starts to not be so bad, all right? If you avoid pain and you flee from it, it's going to chase you. It will never, ever, ever, hear me. It will never go away until you face it. It will stay stuck in your cells. It'll stay stuck in your body. It will create pain. It will create disease. It will create problems in relationships. It will create problems in your subconscious. It changes who you are. So it's really important to really face it, go through it, feel it. Okay, so face the pain. Okay, here is a little, our chart that we're going to redo again, right? So remember, here we were in our little bubble, right? Avoiding everything that we could to stay in our comfort zone. Well, now, as we continue to do these exercises every day, anytime that we're starting to be fearful or be afraid, now we start moving towards our pain. You see that? And little by little, we'll keep getting closer and closer. It may take a couple of times to get to here in the middle, right? It may take you a year to get all the way through it. But this is what we need to do to move forward. We need to face the pain, and we need to getting closer and closer and closer and closer to it. You know what doesn't fix pain? And this is something that I want to tell you that I've been learning. And I learned it from another therapist that I've been watching and reading on. And she's like, so many of us sitting here on this side of the pain, we think that an apology or a sorry is just going to make this all go away. And guess what? It doesn't. So if you're waiting for an apology from somebody, let me say, universally sorry and move on and get through this part, right? You'll do yourself a favor. Because even if someone says sorry to you, it doesn't just make this pain disappear. You still have to do the work to move through it, because the trauma created a response in our body and a response in our brain. And we have to work on that part now, all right? So you can forgive, you can not forget, but try to put it as water under the bridge, move on, whether you got your apology or not, and then do this for yourself. Start facing the pain and start moving in a forward direction. And I think that will make all the difference. And here is where you have endless possibilities, right? And just speaking for myself, just going through this little journey for me and how it's kind of changed my life, right? And now I'm living in this end. Are there things I'm still afraid of? Absolutely. I'm still here in some things in my life that I'm still stuck in a comfort zone in, right? And I'm afraid to move forward, and I'm afraid to get to this endless possibilities part. But I'm taking chunks of my life little by little and going through this process. Mediumship was one, right? I had to really push through to get past this pain and fear to get to this part where the endless possibilities are, right? And then I had to, same thing when I wrote my book. Man, I wanted to stay in my comfort zone and not release it. This is where I wanted to be. And it was really, really difficult to push past it and to write my book and face the pain that I had from the book. And here's my book. It's called You Can Be a Medium, How a Red Couch Led Me to Mediumship and Turned My Pain into Purpose. But even the year that it took to write that book, I kept hitting this wall of pain and didn't want to and would want to put it away. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to get to this endless possibilities of what this book could do to the world if I'm stuck in this comfort zone over here and not pushing forward. So I encourage you all to do that, to take something and just start working on it every month. Take something, whatever it is. Do an inventory of some of your pain and some of your trauma that you're dealing with. Are you dealing with an emotional relationship trauma? Someone left and they're not coming back and you can't move on. This is a really good way to deal with it, is just to start facing it, and it won't hurt as bad when you face it. I promise. I've been through it. I'm doing it. And the pain gets easier the more you face your fears and the more you push through it. Okay. So I would even substitute pain for fear as well, because we can put fear in here just as well, because fear keeps us from going through life as well, right? We're too afraid of something. Well, we're afraid of being hurt and we're afraid of the pain, but even fear of heights, push yourself through it, inch by inch, little by little, and push past it. And then the possibilities of the hikes that you can do and the places that you can see and the views you can take pictures of, right? That's an analogy that you can do with it. So this little analogy right here can fit so many different things, and it makes so much sense. So I hope that it helps you, and I hope that you can copy it and use it in your journals and use it in your life every single day to help move you forward. All right. So that comes to the end of this chapter. I want to talk about next, when you can use it. And it can really be, you can use it anytime that you need to, anytime that you're trying to avoid something. How many of you are trying to avoid asking for a raise at work, right? That could be another one that you kind of work into. And you can kind of think of worst case scenario as a no. So what if you created a cloud with a big word no? And this worked for mediumship too, because that's what all of us baby mediums were afraid of. We were afraid of getting a no. Oh my gosh, what if we got a no? That means we weren't connecting. So pushing past the fear of no. And I can tell you, no doesn't have any place with me anymore. I am no longer afraid of anything when it comes to the word no. So same for you. Keep pushing, right? Create that cloud, think about what it means to you, and keep getting closer and closer and closer to it. And think of worst case scenario. How bad could it really, really be? So that's a way that you can use it. Like, I'm trying to think of what else in a bad relationship. What if I left? How come I'm not leaving? Why am I stuck in this pattern of behavior? Why do I think I'm not good enough? Get down to the nitty gritty. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid to be alone? How bad does that look? Right? Create the story of being alone and then push to it. Keep going through it, right? Until it doesn't seem as overwhelming or as hard or as fearful anymore, right? Another way to use this reversal of desire, and that's why it's called reversal of a desire, because your desire is to go back, right? We don't want you to do that. We want you to go forward. So that's why it's called the reversal of a desire. We want to reverse what you really want, which is to stay comfortable, and we want you to push forward into uncomfort. Okay? Get out of that comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's the only way that you're going to move forward in life. Another way that you can, when to use this, is when you start overthinking something. Like, let's talk about asking your boss for a raise. Like, you think that they're going to come back and tell you you're crazy, they're all this. So you start overthinking. And you start all these stories that you're creating. And all these stories are causing more fear, more anxiety. You're not living in the present. You're living in the future, or you're living in the past, right? Overthinking. When you start to overthink something, you can say, hey, I'm going to do the reversal of desire technique. And I'm going to try to get out of this loop that my brain is in. And I'm going to try to pull myself out of it. I think anything to do with self-reflection and self-development is about forward motion and action behind it. Okay. All right. And so that's probably one of the biggest things that you can do is anytime you catch yourself spinning, anytime you catch yourself in that loop, stop and go back to your reversal of desire technique, your cloud technique, and go and work through it. And I promise you it will help. On the other side of healing is just this most amazing and wonderful gift of life, and living without fear and living without expectations, unrealistic expectations, living without having people let you down because you're no longer living in a space where that's required. I don't know if that makes any sense, but when you heal from the inside out, it no longer becomes about what everybody else is doing to you, for you, or not for you. It just becomes about you and your happiness. And everything else is just a plus, but it doesn't define you anymore. And you're not living in a world of expectations and being let down all the time. So that would be my advice to you. I pulled 2 cards kind of for the collective today, just to give you kind of a going away gift from me. And these are from my deck, Heaven's Messages. So you can take a look. I wrote a deck, what heaven would say to all of us kind of going through these hard things right now. And the first one is about wisdom. Okay. And in myself, speaking to spirit every day, like I do, because I do readings 3 times a week. The one consistent thing that I think that always comes through from spirit is, I wish I would have known then kind of what I know now. What's important, what's not important, right? Think of the bigger picture in life. Truly sit down and say, is this important? Should I have done this trip? Should I have let fear get in the way? Did I live my most authentic self? Did I live my best life, right? So start asking yourself those questions as well. And then really think about it. Those of our loved ones who are gone now, what would they do if they were still here knowing what they know now? And lucky for you, they can tell us. More and more of us are out here. More and more mediums are mainstream. And it's not as taboo to go see a medium or a psychic anymore. And let us tell you that your loved ones are fine on the other side, and their only regret is just not learning sooner the truth, learning sooner not to hang on to the small stuff, right? Learning sooner to deal with our pain and our emotions and our trauma and heal and come out on the other side of it, right? Wish we would have known sooner to get out of the victimhood mentality. I wish I would have known sooner that the things that people do, it's not a personal attack on me. It's a reflection of where they're at in life, right? I wish I would have known sooner some of these answers to life and the universe. So there is that one. And then the next card that I pulled for you guys, it was purpose. So it's very interesting that we got the purpose card when we talked about purpose today in the reversal of desire and force forward motion. Purpose is key. That's what I'll tell you as well. Start looking for what your purpose is. Start going inside. Start figuring out what makes you happy. What were you meant to do here? If things aren't working for you, it's because you're being met with resistance. Maybe it means that's not where you're meant to be, right? When you're in forward motion, I feel like things just happen, and it happens easy, and it happens simply, and it's not hard. So if you're finding yourself at a job where you just keep beating yourself up, it's just not going smoothly, you're not getting the promotions, maybe it's time to leave. If you were where you're supposed to be, life would just fall in place, and it would just be in forward motion, and things would just go much easier, and there'd be less resistance. So I encourage you to do that. Find that thing. And people say, but I've tried, Tracey. I've tried. I don't know what my purpose is. And then you go on a year's journey to find it. When I was doing my walk, I was like, okay, I'm going to take I knew my purpose was going to be in the metaphysical realm. How I knew that, I'd lost my dad at a really young age. I was always attracted to this kind of stuff. I always thought, wow, I wish I was special like these people. So I always kind of had an innate knowing this is what I wanted. But when I started taking classes, and I started taking classes in everything. I started taking a crystal class. I started taking a tarot class. I took a mediumship class. I took a psychic class. I took a past life class, an Akashic record class, a spirit drawing class. I'm trying to think of all the classes that I've taken. The herbal class. I've taken astrology. Like, there's so many things in this realm. And I really kind of zoned into the mediumship, and I kind of just knew from losing my dad at a young age, that's probably what I want to do. But man, when I chose it and I started taking classes, and then another class would present itself, another mentor would present itself, another school would present itself, an opportunity would present itself. And like, it just kept going, and it wouldn't allow me to stop. And I'm still doing it 7 years later, and things every single month keep popping up. Right? This show came up. I have another podcast, right? Again, the book, the 2 cards. So all of that is just coming, and it feels, although it's a lot of work, it feels effortless. So I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you the wisdom of the spirits and the wisdom of your ancestors, right? Listen to them. They wish they would have known now what they've known. Wish they would know now. Wish they wouldn't know then what they know now. And go find your purpose. All right, go heal, do your work, do your self-love journey, your self-healing journey, and your self-reflection journey. We will be back next week, and we are going to talk about the second tool. Super excited because it just gets better and better and better. And I'll give you more exercises on coping, and we'll talk more about that. If you want to download the book or go get the book on Amazon, and you can kind of go along with me on that journey as well. Let me tell you what the next chapter is going to be about really quick. It is active love. So we're going to do active love and outflow on the next show. So if you're interested about that, make sure you stay tuned. And thank you guys for watching and supporting the show. All my gratitude and love to each and every one of you. I hope you find this information useful to move on in your life. So we will see you again on the Soul's Journey on Bold Brave TV. Thank you for watching.
This has been The Soul's Journey with your host, Tracey Escobar. Tune in each week and be inspired through the voices of those living the journey and those who have already passed on. Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.